Cardinal Nation. I'm Mr. Walrath, and I'm really excited to come to you today to talk about some misconceptions regarding Black history. We're very excited to celebrate Black History Month, and we have some great information for you today. Did you know that whatever music that you listen to, whether it's R&B, rap, hip-hop, rock, classic rock, blues, jazz, all originated from Black people?
A varsity track runner named John Baxter Taylor was the first Black man to win a gold medal at the Olympics in 1908.
A common myth about slavery in America is that racism ended in America also.
Black women are 40.8% more likely to die during childbirth.
During slavery, Black people used their hair to navigate and make routes to escape slavery.
Clara Coleman, a 15-year-old girl, was the first to refuse to move to the back of a bus at school, inspiring Rosa Parks 9 months later to take it one step further.
We here at CRHS want the Black community to know that you are loved, you are beautiful, you are empowering, and we see you.
Before Oprah Winfrey and Michael Jordan joined the Billionaires Club, Robert Johnson became the first African-American billionaire when he sold a cable station he founded, Black Entertainment Television, BET, in 2001.
Hey Cardinals, it's Maddie back again this week. I hope you guys had a great week and have a great weekend. Thank you to all of those who participated in the Happiness Project. Here's a video we put together. Seeing a portion of our community come together in one space makes us happy and proud. Love, CRHS Student Council. CR Girls Lacrosse is also holding a fundraiser at Chipotle on Northdale Boulevard on April 14th, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Senior All-Night Party Fundraiser is held on March 7th from 4 to 8 p.m. and it will be at the Coon Rapids on Northdale Boulevard, Chipotle. All proceeds will go for prizes and entertainment for the senior party. Auditions for Into the Woods. Call in all CRHS students. Tuesday, February 23rd. Audition solos begin at 2:30 p.m. All auditions are virtual. Join the audition Google Classroom info below. We are thrilled to be staging the amazing musical this spring. Auditions will be Tuesday, February 23rd. We hope any and all students who are interested in being a part of the live performance will join us. Thank you and see you at the auditions. Quiet Study Time and Writing Center. Your virtual and in-person quiet study time is here to meet all of your online and in-person tutoring needs. We have over 12 tutors standing by to help you and your students get caught up in their classes. To get help virtually, click on the link during our hours of Tuesday through Friday from 2:40 to 5 p.m. and one of our tutors will be with you momentarily. For in-person QST, run the same hours as the online schedule and can be found in the LMC during your hybrid day. If you have any questions, please contact Andrew Smith at andrew.smith@ahschools.us. Coon Rapids Community Scholarships Association applications will be open at the end of February through April. Seniors who qualify will be sent an email with a link to sign up for the session. We plan to offer virtual and in-person sessions. Students must be signed into their Schools accounts to register for a session. Sessions to complete the application take about 30 minutes. This is a great opportunity for students that you won't want to miss. Last year, over 150 scholarships totaling $212,000 were given out to recipients. We also have an amazing, generous community that supports Coon Rapids seniors. Seniors planning to attend any post-secondary institutions next fall may apply. Financial need is not a factor and scholarships are awarded based on academic and involvement in the school community. If you have any questions, please contact Ms. O'Hale Cardinal Smith in the counseling office at julian.cornellsmith@ahschools.us.
Thank you, Maddie. Attention distant learning English language learners, students and families. On Monday, March 8th, 2021, Coon Rapids High School is giving the access test for distant learning English language students. Hybrid ELL students will be testing during school the week before. Busing for distant learning will be provided on Monday, March 8th. The following letters with specific busing information will be mailed home to ELL students who are distant learners. The access test for ELL is required test that is used monitoring English learners' progress as they develop academic language skills in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Access scores provide valuable information about English language development to families and schools. Schools also use these sources to determine if a student is ready to exit the English language program. Cardinal Food Shelf and Compassion Fund. Please consider supporting our community. Food and gift card donations are needed for the Cardinal Food Shelf. The food shelf is staffed by student workers who pre-package boxes and backpacks of food for students and families to take home as needed. Current needs are identified in the Sign of Genius. The Cardinal Compassion Fund is used to help students and families that have difficulty participating in the CRH community due to socioeconomic factors. Funds have been used for the partial payments for the expenses related to participating in school events, activities, and material costs for classroom projects. The fund has also assisted families in crises. Checks can be written to AHEF with Cardinal Compassion Fund identified as the recipient on the memo line. Contact Christine Patton, school social worker, at 763-506-7133 or christine.patton@ahschools.us for more information and to request assistance with these resources. Scholarship opportunities. Seniors, please check several scholarship opportunities. Upcoming virtual college visits. These visits are program specific. Students can attend any visit that they have any interest in learning more about a career in a related field. Historically Black colleges and universities experience panel discussion. The Anoka Hennepin Career and College Specialist recently facilitated a panel discussion about the historically Black colleges and universities experience. This conversation featured alumni and current students from the Clark Atlanta University, Howard University, and Xavier University. Special thanks to all the panelists for sharing their stories and providing their personal insight on the value of historically Black colleges and universities. CRHS College Fair. Unfortunately, there will not be a college fair in person this year, but you have a great opportunity to register for some awesome virtual sessions. Registration opens February 10th. CRHS Junior ACT Test, March 30th at CRHS High School. Study for the ACT. The cost is free. It's a paper and pencil test, and you don't need to sign up unless you choose to call the school to opt out. If you choose to opt out of the ACT test, call or email becky.berkland@ahschools.us or call 763-506-7332. More detailed information coming soon. The Anoka Hennepin Career and College Specialist discussed trends in the Minnesota labor market with Deed Regional Analyst Tim O'Neill. Many of these trends are promising in students pursuing a career in a short-term and technical education. Job opportunities. Walker Methodist, we are currently hiring for CNAs 17+ and resident assist 18+. Shelby Upgard, recruitment coordinator. Call 763-453-7018 or email sppreston@walkermethodist.org. Bunker Beach is currently hiring for lifeguards, guest service, maintenance, and concession positions for the 2021 summer season. Email Miss Michulis, aka Chewy, if you are interested in setting up an interview for a job at Bunker Beach. The City of Blaine is looking for individuals to fill summer positions available through Park and Rec. If you are looking for a job, I would highly recommend you go to the place and you would like to work, introduce yourself, and ask if they are hiring. It is a big deal to put yourself out there. That's all we have for you today, Cardinals. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Coon Rapids Cardinal Earth presents Make Your Voice Heard on March 3rd from 10:15 a.m. to 11 a.m. Get your voice to the policymakers and write impactful statements about the environmental issues that matter to you. Your words, your voice, your planet.
So the process of this, you're going to sign up with the Google form, which you can get from your third hour teacher in the stream or from them. You will get an email invite with the code to Google Meet. You're going to check into your third period and then log into the session at 10:15 and it'll go until 11.
During the session, you will hear from your peers about environmental issues that impact you, and then write and send a letter to policymakers to make your voice heard now.
The 4 topics you can choose from are climate change, protecting Minnesota's wildlife, local food and waste reduction, and land use justice.
We hope to see you there.
Hello, everybody. Just want to give you a little history Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Robert Murray. I'm assistant principal. Wanted to give you a little history on Black History Month. Black History Month was created by Carter G. Woodson. He was a activist, journalist, educator, and he was born in the 1870s and in Canton, Virginia. Carter G. Woodson started it with the idea of teaching people Black history, and he was one of the innovators of the Black History Week, which eventually turned into Black History Month. So please join us in celebrating the contributions of African Americans and people of color to America, and this month of February, Black History Month. Thank you.
Douglass's life sort of stands across the expanse of the 19th century as a symbol of the worst and the best in the American character. He was the slave who saw most of the worst brutalities of slavery. He was the slave, however, who freed himself and by luck, pluck, and gifts remade himself. Most importantly, he had an enormous ability to capture in words the meaning of what America is about.
I have no accurate knowledge of my age, never having seen any authentic record containing it. By far the larger part of the slaves know as little of their ages as horses know of theirs, and it is the wish of most masters within my knowledge to keep their slaves thus ignorant. I do not remember to have ever met a slave who could tell of his birthday. Frederick Douglass, 1845.
It was along the eastern shore of Maryland near a quiet creek called the Tuckahoe that the life of the man who would inspire a nation began.
Frederick Douglass was born in Talbot County on Maryland's eastern shore. He wasn't certain of his birth himself. In fact, he thought that he had been born in 1817.
But slave records tell of the birth of Frederick Augustus to a slave named Harriet in February 1818.
He knew who his mother was, although she was a distant figure in his life. She lived on another plantation. He never really knew who his father was, although he came to believe that his father was definitely a white man and probably his master.
Raised by his grandmother at the far end of the plantation, the tiny boy named Frederick led a carefree, playful life along the muddy shores of the Tuckahoe until he was 6.
At about age 6, Douglass found that his childhood had come to an abrupt end. He was assigned to act as the companion and caretaker of the child of the owner of the plantation. And as a result, he could get in trouble for things that he either had done or had failed to do. And so it became immediately apparent that he was no longer a child, but was a slave and was part of that institution of slavery.
Novelist, playwright, poet, and essayist, James Baldwin emerged as the spokesman of the civil rights movement.
James Baldwin is considered such a great author because he was so skilled at eloquently describing what it was like to be Black in America.
Born on August 2nd, 1924, in Harlem, New York, James Arthur Baldwin was a Pentecostal preacher at age 14, left the church 3 years later, and was already an accomplished writer. When disgusted by prejudice against African Americans, he left the United States and moved to Paris in 1948.
James Baldwin earned a writing fellowship, and he used that money to buy a ticket and leave immediately for Paris.
He left in part because he felt he couldn't write freely or honestly in America. And perhaps more particularly, he couldn't write freely or honestly from the ghetto.
In Europe, Baldwin completed Go Tell It on the Mountain, one of Modern Library's 100 best English-language novels of the 20th century.
Go Tell It on the Mountain was an important novel, in part because there were not many novels being widely read about Black urban life from the perspective of Black people.
The semi-autobiographical tale really discussed in a profound way issues having to deal with family relationships, organized religion, human sexuality. It was certainly one of the finest books published in America.
In 1958, he wrote Giovanni's Room, a controversial novel that featured only white characters and explicit homoerotic content.
Giovanni's Room is one of the first novels in American literature to tackle the issue of homosexuality. When he published that novel, that was a daring thing to do. That was a taboo topic.
Baldwin's book, The Fire Next Time, published in 1963, discussed the uneasy relationship between Christianity and the Black Muslim movement within the Civil Rights Movement, and landed him on the cover of Time magazine.
In 1963, he may well have been the most powerful and most compelling and most widely recognized literary voice in terms of his essays, in terms of his relatively popular fiction. He was the voice that was calling America's attention to the prejudice and the racism that persisted in society.
It was the year of Dr. King's historic speech, the March on Washington. Everybody read The Fire Next Time. It was an angry outcry at the racism going on in the United States and the burgeoning civil rights movement.
With the assassination of major civil rights leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, Baldwin returned to Europe, where he lived most of his adult life, and continued to reflect the racial upheaval of America through his work.
In addition to novels and essays, James Baldwin was a playwright. He wrote criticism. He even published some film criticism. He was what you might call a creative journalist. He looked into the Atlanta child murders late in his career and wrote a series of powerful essays about those.
As a resident of France, Baldwin was given that country's highest honor, Commander of the Legion of Honor. He died from stomach cancer on November 30th, 1987, in Saint-Paul-de-Vence, France, and was buried in Harlem, New York.
His writings had an enormous impact on American society. He reflected the times and remains a powerful source for an understanding of a vital period of our national history, the Civil Rights Movement, the most important moral crusade of the late 20th century.
Sojourner Truth was born around 1797 in Ulster County, New York. Originally named Isabella Baumfree, Truth was sold at 11 years old along with a flock of sheep for $100.
Sojourner Truth wrote about her life as a child in slavery, and she talked about experiencing sexual abuse and continued beatings and whippings by her slave owner.
Truth fled her master in 1826, 1 year before the abolition of slavery in New York, and eventually became a freed slave.
After Truth became a free woman, she had the courage to go to court to challenge the legality of her son being sold into slavery. She was successful against so many odds, which is what makes that court case so amazing.
Inspired by religion, she changed her name to Sojourner Truth in 1843. The following year, she joined forces with abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison.
Sojourner Truth became a traveling preacher, but also she was an early women's rights advocate, and so she spoke very forcefully for that as well.
In 1850, she published her memoirs, and the following year, Truth delivered her famous speech at the Ohio Women's Rights Convention.
The speech was later retitled, Ain't I a Woman? And it was so powerful in part because it talked about the equality of work that was executed by Black people in general, that people who were free and unfree worked just as hard whether they were men or women.
Following the outbreak of the Civil War, Truth recruited troops for the Union Army and met with President Lincoln in 1864, who gave her permission to become a counselor at Freedmen's Village.
Sojourner Truth made a singular contribution during the Civil War. She agitated for Black people to be able to fight for their own freedom.
Truth continued to campaign for abolition and women's rights until her death on November 26, 1883. In 2009, a statue of Sojourner Truth was unveiled at the U.S. Capitol, commemorating her legacy.
Sojourner Truth was one of the gutsiest women in American history, black or white.
What makes you happy?
This community makes me happy and proud.
We are one team. And we'll get through this together. You